All right, so we're doing our lab on carrying capacity. Now this lab is normally a really fun lab, and I'm gonna have fun doing it because I'm outside. But this is a lab that usually lets us get outside of our actual lab and have some fun. Now, I have the lab printed out, and so this is the first page of your lab exercise, and it shows the two different types of population growth curves that we're gonna be covering in lecture. And we see our exponential and our logistic growth curve. Logistic growth curve is a growth curve that obeys what we call carrying capacity, which is what we see that red line is. Carrying capacity is an environment or a habitat's capability of supporting a certain number of individuals that are competing for the same food resource. And so in today's lab, you'll see before me, I have a cookie sheet with some pinto beans. The pinto beans represent the food source, and myself, along with my 4 kids, we will be acting as the foragers in this exercise to determine what the appropriate carrying capacity is for our little population. Now, each person will have a plastic spoon, and you may or may not be able to see in the back, I have a couple of plastic cups. But because there's only 5 of us that are doing this activity, we're gonna be playing the roles of 2 people. So at some point, I will be using both my spoons, and I'll have both my cups in which I will be collecting beans and depositing them in my cups. Now the way this is gonna work is each round, we're gonna go for about 20 seconds, and one person will start, and they will pick up as many beans as they can, and then they'll come back and deposit their beans in their cup. And if they collect over 5 beans, as your lab dictates, they will have enough to survive. And if they survive, they can reproduce. So the next round will have 2 people go. If both of those people have more than 5 beans in their cup at the end of the round, they will reproduce, and the next round will have 4. And so we'll be following kind of an exponential growth curve at first, but it should level out at some point because we'll run out of food. So we're gonna go ahead and take our positions, and we will get ready to do the activity. You're gonna need to follow along in your lab manual. We have a data table, and you're gonna be filling out. We'll be, after everyone collects their beans each round, we'll report the numbers like we did in the lab with the snowshoe hare and lynx, and you will report the numbers, and then we'll do a little bit of math, and we'll plot some graphs and answer some questions. All right, so we'll go ahead and take our positions. Timer's out. Okay, so we had our first forager. How many beans did you collect, Brianne?
5.
5. So now what I'm gonna do is for generation 1, we had 1 forager. They collected 5 beans. Okay? How many beans did you have? You said 5, right? You need 5 to survive winter. So we had 1 survivor. We don't need to worry about these. We'll be able to calculate these after we're done. So we'll focus on survivors, how many total beans are eaten, and how many total foragers there were. Okay. All right, so now we're in our second round. So our first forager collected just enough beans to survive winter. Raise your hand, Brianne. There's our first survivor. Now she survived, which means that she gets to reproduce. So now her offspring across the field is my other daughter. They're both gonna take an opportunity to collect as much food as they can, and we'll see if they survive. So let's get ready, set, go. All right, time's up. All right, so we have the results from our generation 2, our 2 foragers. All right, so we had 2 foragers, so I'm gonna go ahead and write down 2. Now, how many beans did you eat, Brianne? 5. So she had 5. How many did you eat, Emma?
7.
7. So 5 plus 7 is 12. And they both survived. They both got more than 5. So we had 2 survivors. All right, so now because we had 2 survivors, the next round we're gonna have 4 foragers go. All right. All right, so now we're in our 3rd generation. We have our 4 foragers getting ready to set, or getting ready to forage. All right, are you guys ready? All right, ready, set, go. All right, whatever you have in your spoon, go deposit it. All right, so we have results from our 3rd generation. So in this generation, we had 4 foragers. So I'm gonna write 4 down on my clipboard. Now, we're gonna find out how many beans were eaten. We'll start with Bree. How many did you get?
I got 10.
10 beans. So I'll put 10 here, and then I'll add them all together. And so she survived, okay? So I'll put a tally mark there. Emma, how many beans?
13.
13 beans. And so you survived. Jeremy, how many beans?
I got 10 beans.
10 beans. And you survived. Brooke?
5.
5 beans. And you survived. So in total, we had all 4 survivors. So I'll erase my notes there. And we had a total of 20, 33, 38 beans. 38 beans, and I will erase those notes there. Okay, so because they all survived, each one of them are gonna have the opportunity to have an offspring. So now, because there's a limited number of us, each of them will be taking the position of 2 foragers. So Brooke she'll have 2 cups and 2 spoons that she'll forage with. Jeremy will have 2 cups and 2 spoons. Emma will have 2 cups and 2 spoons. And Bree will have 2 cups and 2 spoons. So that'll represent 8 foragers. All right, go back to your positions. Okay, now we're in our 4th generation. Now in this generation, remember there are 4 foragers, but each forager is representing 2 foragers. They're gonna have a spoon in each hand, and each spoon will represent a forager. So we have a total of 8 foragers. All right, are the foragers ready?
Yeah.
Get set, go. All right, time's up. Okay, so. All right, so we have our generation 4 results, okay? Now we had a total of 8 foragers, so I'm gonna write that down on my clipboard. 8 foragers. All right, we'll take a tally of how many beans were eaten. Brianne, how many beans do you have total?
7.
7 beans total. Emma?
10.
10, so 17.
13.
13 plus 17 is 30.
5.
So 35 total beans eaten. And how many survivors? So you did.
And 1 cup I have 4, and the other cup I have 3.
So no survivors.
2 survivors.
So you got more than 5 in both?
I got exactly 5.
Okay, so 2 survivors.
I got 8 in 1 cup and 4 in
So
5
2
in
more
the other.
survivors.
I got 2 in 1 cup and 3 in 1 cup.
All right, so no survivors. So we had 4 survivors. Okay. All right, we are starting our 5th generation. Now, you'll recall that we had 8 foragers last time, but of those 8 foragers, only 4 of them survived. So now, all 4 foragers are gonna go again, but this time they're only gonna have 1 spoon in their hand, and they're only gonna be depositing beans into 1 of their cups. All right, are the foragers ready?
Yes. Yep.
Set, go. All right. Stop what you're doing, deposit your beans in your cup. All right, so we're at the end of Generation 5. We had our 4 foragers. Those are their results. I'll go ahead and read them off now. So I'm gonna write down that we had 4 foragers. All right, we're gonna tally up how many beans we're eating.
I had 7.
7,
11.
11, so that's 18.
13.
18 plus 13 is 31.
7.
So 31 plus 7 is 38 beans. So I'm gonna write down 38 beans. And did you survive?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
4 survivors. Now because there are 4 survivors, that means they're each gonna have an offspring. So we're gonna go back to them having 2 spoons in their hands and feeding both their cups. So we're gonna have 8 foragers in theory on this next run. Okay, we are starting our 6th generation, and we're gonna have our 8 foragers try to collect as many beans as they can. All right, foragers, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, set, go. All right, time's up. Whatever's on your spoon, put it in your cup. All right, so now you are seeing the results from round 6 or generation 6. Okay, so we had 8 foragers. So I'm gonna write down 8 on my clipboard. All right, now we're gonna tally up the number of beans eaten. How many did you get total between both cups?
8.
8,
7.
so 15,
10.
so 25,
12.
and 37. 37. Now, how many survivors?
So in one cup I have 6, and in the other cup I have 2.
Okay, so 1 survivor. So how many survivors?
0.
0. How many survivors?
2.
2. How many survivors?
2.
2. So we have 5 total survivors. Okay, all right.
Time's up.
All right, whatever beans are on your spoon. All right, so this last round, these are our results from our 10 foragers, 10 different cups. So we had 10 foragers, so in our 7th generation, I'm gonna write down the number 10. Now we're gonna tally up the number of beans eaten. All right, so Brienne,
Yeah.
so
I have 7.
7 in those cups, and how many in those cups?
6.
Why don't I hold those for you? All right, so 7 and 6 is 13.
5.
That's 18.
9.
That's 27.
0.
0. Oh, that's right. You didn't make it back before the timer went off. All right. So that's 27 beans. Now, based on that, let's determine our survivors. All right, Brienne, how many survivors do you have?
I have 1.
1 survivor. Emma?
1.
2 survivors.
1.
3 survivors. No survivors, and 1 of my cups survived. So that's 4 survivors. 5 survivors. All right, so we just concluded our 7th generation, and we're starting our 8th generation. In this generation, we had 4 survivors from the last round. We had said 5, we miscounted. We had 4 survivors, and that means that we're gonna have 8 foragers. Each survivor survived long enough to reproduce, and so now we have 8. So each one of my kids will have 2 spoons in their hands and 2 cups to feed. All right, are you guys ready?
Yeah.
Okay, get set. Let me go back to my timer. I apologize. All right, ready, get set, go. Whoa. Remember, not to be aggressive. You got 8 seconds. You better start making your way back. 4 seconds. 2 seconds. Time's up. All right, so we just finished our 8th generation with our 8 foragers. Let's go around and find out and collect our data. So 8 foragers, I'll write down number 8 on my clipboard. All right, how many beans were eaten? Both cups.
9.
9,
6.
15,
7.
22.
7.
Oh, but you got 0 because you still didn't make it back to your cup in time. All right, so remind me of those numbers again.
9.
9,
6.
15,
7.
22.
Those are different numbers, right?
So 22. Now, how many survivors?
2.
How many survivors?
1.
How many survivors?
Me 1.
So 4 survivors. All right. Okay, we are starting our 9th generation. Because we had 4 survivors last round, we have 8 foragers. So each one of my kids, again, will have 2 spoons, and they'll be feeding 2 cups. All right, are you guys ready?
Yes, sir.
Set. Go. You got 10 seconds. Two seconds. Time's up. All right, you are now seeing the results from our 9th generation. We had, again, 8 foragers. I'm gonna go ahead and write that down. All right, now we'll tally up all the beans. Emma, how many beans did you eat in total?
12.
12,
2.
14,
9.
23,
1.
24. Now, how many survivors?
2.
2,
0.
0,
1.
3.
0.
We're down to 3 survivors. Okay, that means we'll have 6 foragers on the next round. All right. Okay, this time we have 6 foragers. So how are we gonna do this?
I got 2 spoons.
2 spoons? Brooke, you do 1 spoon? Emma, you do 2? Bree, you do 1. All right. Okay, go ahead. Oh,
You're good.
so we're gonna go ahead and go. Ready, set, go. Got 5 seconds, 4 seconds, 3 seconds, no seconds. All right, this time we had 6 foragers, and you are now viewing their results. So on my clipboard, I'm gonna go ahead and write down 6. How many beans did you eat in total?
5.
5,
10.
15,
13.
28,
1.
29, so 29 beans. Now, how many survivors?
1.
1,
2.
3,
2.
5,
0.
0. So we had 5 survivors. All right. 10 foragers, go!
Jeremy, knock on my beans, bro.
Beans together.
Time's up.
All right. All right, so now you're looking at the results from generation 11. We had 10 foragers. Okay, now we will record the numbers. So we had 10 foragers. All right, how many beans eaten, Brienne?
5.
5, Emma?
9.
So that's 14. Jeremy?
8.
That is 22.
8.
That is 30 beans. Now, survivors, how many survivors?
1.
1,
1.
2,
1.
3.
0 and 1.
So how many?
1.
All right, so that's 4 survivors. All right, 4 survivors, that means we're gonna have 8 foragers on the next round.
Go! 4 seconds.
All All right, you're now viewing the results from Generation 12. Again, we had 8 foragers. We'll go ahead and write down number 8. Okay, starting over here, Brianne, how many beans did you eat?
6.
6. Emma, what?
5.
11.
13.
What is that, 24?
10.
34 beans. How many survivors?
1. 1.
2.
2.
4.
1.
5. 5 survivors. All right, you guys ready? Set.
Yes, sir.
Go. Rookie missed the beam. All right, so we're looking at round 13. We had 10 foragers. I'll go ahead and jot that down on my clipboard. 10 foragers for the Generation 13. All right, now we're gonna count beans. How many?
7.
7.
9.
That is 16.
13.
29.
1.
30. Now, how many survivors?
1.
1,
1.
2,
2.
4.
0.
4 survivors. All right.
Go!
I like the countdown.
Oh, yeah. Great.
All right, we had just finished Generation 14. We had 8 foragers that round. Go ahead and jot down 8. How many beans?
10. 7.
17.
9.
26.
6.
32. How many survivors?
2. 1.
3.
1.
4.
1.
5. All right, we will. All right, this is our last round. Ready, set, go. Time's up. All right, these are the results from Generation 15, our last round. Again, we had 10 foragers that go around. How many beans?
3.
11,
11.
22,
12.
34. Okay, how many survivors?
0.
Emma, look
1.
alive, child.
1.
1,
2.
3,
2.
5. All right, that's the end of this activity. We will resume this on Zoom in lecture and go over what you need to do for your graphs.